Good morning. It's 9 o'clock and time for the May 24th meeting of the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners. This morning the invocation is going to be led by Commissioner Wesley Davis, and I'll lead the pledge.
Please rise. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to conduct the public's business in front of in an open process. May we use your knowledge, your wisdom, and your guidance in the decisions we make. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Chairman.
Our next item is additions and deletions to the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion to approve the agenda as is from Commissioner Davis, a second from Commissioner Flesher. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Next up, we have proclamations and presentations, and the first will be the presentation of a proclamation designating May 30th, 2011 as Memorial Day. This will be read by Commissioner Davis and presented to Marty Zickert. Mr. Zickert, good morning.
Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
This is a proclamation designating May 30th, 2011 as Memorial Day. Whereas Memorial Day was first observed on May 30th, 1868, when flowers were placed on the graves of Union and Confederate soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery. And whereas on Memorial Day, we pause collectively for a moment of reverence, reflecting on the heroics of those who answered when called by their country to bear arms and to protect and preserve the ideals of democracy. Whereas Memorial Day is a cherished tradition in our nation, and its observance helps us appreciate our history, our values, our responsibilities by reminding us that freedom is not free. And whereas the Veterans Council of Indian River County, consisting of about 20 veterans organizations representing over 18,000 veterans residing in the county, is holding Memorial Day ceremonies at Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary on Monday, May 30th, 2011. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that May 30th, 2011 be designated as Memorial Day, and the Board urges all its residents to attend Memorial Day ceremonies at Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary at 9 a.m. on Monday, May 30th, 2011, adopted this 24th day of May, 2011. Signed by Bob Solari, Chairman, Gary Wheeler, Vice Chairman, Wesley Davis, Joe Flesher, and Peter O'Brien. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for the support you've given to the veterans. I know money's tight, and I know that slashing some personnel is always a little bit simpler than some of the other things, but the 18,000 people that are out there appreciate it. We're having a thing called a stand-down, which is done by the Veterans Administration. It'll be sometime in August. And what we're in the process of doing is pulling people that have been out in the wilderness, literally, in to do things, such basic things as having a shower, having a hot meal. And we understand that when we get down the path a little further, I'll get in touch with you and let you know how that's working. But again, thank you for all your support. Thanks for keeping the VSOs active. There's so many VSOs that are not able to work anymore because, as you know, they're county employees. Also, thank you for the service you've given us for taking the veterans. We average 250 veterans every single month that we pull down, we take down to Veterans Administration Hospital. And I thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. We next have a presentation of designating the month of May as Civility Month. I'll read that, and Mr. DeBraw will accept. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
This proclamation designating the month of May as Civility Month. Whereas the open exchange of public disclosure is essential to the democratic system of government, and whereas a cornerstone of democracy, Americans have observed certain rules of behavior generally known as civility, and whereas civility, derived from the Latin words civitas, meaning city, and civis, meaning citizen, is behavior worthy of citizens living in a community or in a common with others, and whereas displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, impatience, and a lack of respect and personal attacks detract from the open exchange of ideas, prevent fair discussion of the issues, and can discourage individuals from participation in government. And whereas civility can assist in reaching consensus on diverse issues and allow for mutually respectful ongoing relationships. And whereas civility can uplift our daily life and make it more pleasant to live in an organized society. And whereas the city, county, and local government law section of the Florida Bar urges the adoption of a pledge of civility by all citizens in the state of Florida. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the month of May be designated as Civility Month in Indian River County, and calls upon all citizens to exercise civility towards each other. Adopted this 24th day of May, 2011, and signed by all 5 members of the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Solari. Bill DeBrawl on behalf of the County Attorney's Office. It always goes so much easier and faster when everybody is civil to each other and nice to each other. I think our mothers told us correctly 2 things. It never hurts to say anything nice about someone, and if you don't have anything nice to say about someone, don't say anything at all. Thank you for your proclamation.
Thank you, Bill.
And always wear clean underwear.
You never know if you're going to the ER.
Next item is public announcement of hurricane preparedness. Are you ready? And to deliver this, we have Himanshu Mehta. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Himanshu Mehta, Solid Waste Disposal District, here with John King, Emergency Services. And on behalf of both of our departments, again, we want to encourage residents to be prepared and be safe for the 2011 hurricane season. In terms of solid waste, we want to encourage residents to make sure that their trees are trimmed and whatnot, such that trees don't become uprooted during a storm event. Also, before a named storm, we encourage residents to take away their yard furniture, things like that, store them inside, lawnmowers and things like that that can become damaged, that could damage their own homes or their neighbors. Again, we want to keep everyone safe during a storm event. As always, solid waste department working with Republic Services is going to ensure that after a storm, that the landfill and the convenience centers are ready and prepared in case of a storm event. I want to briefly announce that on June 11th, 2011, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., there's a Hurricane Expo at the Indian River Mall, and we encourage residents to come out there. Staff from Solid Waste and Emergency Services will be there to hand out guides, hurricane charts, and things like that, and again, information to make sure that they're safe for this hurricane season. If you have any questions for us. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Chief?
I just wanted to ask you if you can comment. I appreciate the information from Himanshu, very valuable information, but I understand that you recently had taken the team through a virtual hurricane.
Yes, John King with Emergency Services, for the record. Yes, yesterday, all 67 counties in the state of Florida participated in a statewide hurricane exercise. And it's kind of a tune-up right on the front of hurricane season. Hurricane season, of course, is June 1st to the last day of November. And for most of the people in this part of the state, usually the mid-August begins to pick up a little bit for us as far as activity. But it was an opportunity to try to incorporate some of the new requirements from the feds and an effort for us to coordinate better with the state, practice some of those skills that we may need. And it was also nice to know that we have a lot of community partners. We had some of the cities involved. We had a number of constitutional officers involved yesterday. So we all know the importance of our time and trying to keep things concise and to the point. So we had a quick exercise, but it was very productive. And I want to thank all those partners that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of April 19th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval of the regular meeting, April 19th, 2011, and the joint meeting with City of Vero Beach, April 29th, 2011.
Motion to approve both sets of minutes from Commissioner O'Brien, second from Commissioner Wheeler. Any comments? All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Next on to the consent agenda. Anybody care to pull any items?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment on the informational items, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Which item, Commissioner?
Item B, the new utility billing software. We're implementing a new billing system, and maybe Cindy can add a few more details here, but it looks like this will be a lot more consumer-friendly. It'll provide a lot more options for folks to manage their utility account. And one of the big things I see on here is that they can now pay by credit card without paying a fee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Cindy Carenti, Assistant Director for Utility Services. We did launch our new software on May 1st. It was actually live for our customers on Monday, May 2nd. And Commissioner O'Brien is indeed correct. There were a lot of features to this software that are going to enhance our customer service. Very exciting to us are the web-based services. People can now go online and actually see their bill. It'll look the same as the one they get in the mail if they choose to keep getting one in the mail. But if they want to be green, not get that piece of mail anymore, they can receive their bill electronically. They don't even need to get it via mail. Once they register for that online account, they can go on, they can pay online, they can use that credit card or a bank account, submit their payment to us electronically. We receive it electronically the next day. It's a seamless process. There's no more third-party fees if you choose to use your credit card. Also on that online account, you can view your history. You can view your billing history, your payment history, your usage history. There's a neat little graph in there if you want to see see what happens on maybe these dry summer months and you're using potable water to water your lawn. You'll see those little blips on that graph where those months you have higher usage than maybe November when you're not watering so much. So there's a lot of features on that system right now that can help the customer with, and they don't have to call us, not that we don't welcome their calls, but it's the electronic and virtual world today, and those services are now available for our customers. Simple things like you want to change your billing address. You're a seasonal resident, you move back and forth. We mail your bill to your local address when you're here for the winter. You're going home, you want us to start mailing it to your northern address, go online, send us your new billing address. It's virtual. We upload it, it's in the system. Next time your bill goes out, it's mailed to your new address. If you're moving, you can do that. You don't have to come in anymore. You don't have to call us. You don't have to send us a big, long application. You can do that online. Fill out the information. Tell us where you live now. Tell us where you're moving to. We can transfer all your information to your new location. If you had a deposit on file with us, we can transfer that too. No longer do you have to wait for your refund of your old deposit at your old location, and when you move into the new one, give us another new deposit. We say, oh, sorry. Well, until you get your refund of that one, we need more money right now because we need a deposit on your new location. No, we can transfer it for you. And you can ask us to do that all via that website if you like. We also launched a new integrated voice response system. Those same services that are available to you on our website can be accessed through our voice response system. You call our phone number. You can go in and manage your account on there as well. All those same things you can do through that. Some of the features that aren't launched yet, but we're phasing them in, and one of them that I think is really going to help folks a lot. This same voice response system will be able to call out to customers. You know, it's a busy world. People get behind. Sometimes something happens. They didn't mail their payment on time. Well, before we interrupt your service and disconnect for non-payment, we're going to be able to call you with a recorded message to remind you, oh, your payment was due. It's now past due. You have a few more days to pay us, and then if you don't, we'll shut you off. But I truly think if folks get that reminder call, it's going to prevent a lot of interruption of service and help those folks. Hey, you know, things happen. People forget, things get lost, payments get misapplied, whatever. So now we have that nice little option to be able to give you a reminder. So they're all very exciting. We hope the customers, we already know our customers are excited about it. The first week we went live, we had customers calling in and just for regular services that they were asking for us. You know, they might have called us in to say, I have to change my address, and then we told them about the website. So they were already asking for their new account numbers so they could go on and use it. We've had an overwhelming response for new applications online. You could, before, download our application the old-fashioned way, print it out, fill it out, mail it to us, or fax it to us. Now you can go on, click on that application, fill it out online, click send, it comes to our office immediately. If you want to start service this afternoon and you send me that application electronically this morning, we call out the turn on, it's done. So we're very excited, and that service alone, every day I talk to Lisa, our customer service supervisor, and she tells me the numbers of these new apps that are coming in that way, and I'm just amazed at how quickly it's caught on.
Well, good. And I just asked our customers maybe a little patience the first month or two to make sure we work out any kinks in the system as we implement this, but it sounds like a great improvement and benefit for the customer. So
it has been, and like I said, they're using it already, and I think they're enjoying it already, and we do appreciate their patience, but remarkably, things have been going very smoothly for a transition as large as this one.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wheeler.
Yeah, two questions. How did you solve the credit card problem? Because does the county get charged a fee for the credit card? Will we absorb that, or have they?
We will absorb the fee now.
Okay, because of what you're saving on mailing and so on and so forth.
Right, and it is a lot. It's also, the fees we're paying are a lot less than those fees that the third party was charging. Our software provider has contracts with the third parties themselves, so they've negotiated fantastic bulk rates. So even though we're going to absorb the fees, it's not going to be $2 plus for each transaction as the customer was paying.
And how about, what's the website address?
You can go to it through ircu.com and then click on the link to manage your account.
So it's not a specific site, it's just through?
Yeah, you can link it right through our website.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes. In thinking about the discounts and how expensive it is now to mail out a bill, is there any way that we could perhaps incentivize going paperless by offering a discount similar to what SunPass has done for those individuals that set up an account with SunPass for the tolls? I mean, you're looking at a 44-cent stamp just to go out and then 44 cents to come back in, and that doesn't include the actual time of necessary to manually process those documents.
That's correct, and we also pay a third-party printer to print those invoices. It's certainly something we could look at. I think it would be an amendment to our rate schedule, but possibly we could amend that billing charge to encompass if you sign up for electronic bill pay.
I bet you it costs us at least $2 for by the time the in and out.
Oh, I'm sure,
and all
with
that kind of
staff
stuff.
time and all that.
And just if somebody were to go to the website and they say save $25 on your utility bill, click here for
I
information.
think it's a possibility. I think it would be a matter of our staff coming back to all of you and asking for approval to adopt something like that.
I was going to say, if you do some of the commissioners, Wesley, you could get that done.
I don't.
Well, right now, the customers...
My water comes 300 feet down from a flow well.
Right now, the customers pay most of that as a separate charge on their bill.
Do they?
There's a billing fee of $1.29, I believe, for each bill that goes out, so they're paying the bulk of it now.
Well, then that's where you'd say how to save if they're in that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then one other, two. One of the reoccurring themes that I hear out there is for people that have multiple properties and then having to have a $100 deposit for each one of those. Are they going to be able to actually have an account for like $1,000 or whatever it may be for the multiple properties versus having, if they have 200 or 20 properties at $100 a piece, having a $2,000 account? Is there going to be any concessions for that whatsoever?
We could put it all in one place now, and the beauty of the way the system works now is your accounts are linked to your customer number rather than to the location as with our old system.
Okay.
So there's no reason we can't reflect that all on one account. Some of the large apartment complexes and mobile home complexes that we have right now, we have them reflected that way on their accounts.
And then that kind of leads me to my next one then. A lot of the utility bills or liens are something that do not get foreclosed in the judicial sale process. So therefore, somebody will have a piece of property they might have picked up in a foreclosure, and then all of a sudden they realize there's an $1,800 delinquent utility bill. And obviously, I'm probably the next person they call, it seems like. But after that, or in that process, can anybody do their due diligence in advance with this new software to be able to determine if there is a delinquent utility bill on a piece of property that they're looking at?
They won't be able to see that other piece of property themselves. They certainly can email or contact our office, and we can look it up for them. We have also been, you're correct in that the way our ordinance is written, we didn't have to actually file liens on those past due utility bills, and that's why oftentimes they were missed by title companies, because we didn't actually file that lien with the courthouse. We have changed that process in-house so that they are actually officially filed, so hopefully they don't get missed. But when you register those online accounts, you have to link it to, your name and address and password, so I couldn't go on and look at your account.
Okay.
Cindy, is this software such that it's easily scalable? For instance, if we got an extra 12 to 14,000
Gee, I think I know where you're heading with this question, and actually, we've already talked about this in-house. We've actually talked with our software providers in-house. It's easily scalable, and there's no doubt it can accommodate 12,000 new customers tomorrow if we had to. And actually, if we can get a flat file, a database file of those customers, we would be able to work with the programmers to upload it electronically. And even if we had to, worst case scenario, I wouldn't want to say we had to manually do those 12,000, but the move-in process on this software is so easy that we could probably accomplish that manual process in a week's time in customer service. It's so less cumbersome than what we were dealing with to enter new customers.
And all those new customers would get all the access to all this great new information.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the commissioners? Cindy, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commissioners.
Now we move to the consent agenda. Anybody care to have anything pulled from the consent? If nobody else does, I'd like to pull items B, C, and F.
D Delta, C
The
Charlie.
meeting was going to go too fast.
You couldn't have that.
Move approval as amended.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Flesher.
Second.
Second from Commissioner O'Brien. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. Item B is also a utility-related item, and this is related to one of the things that makes me most proud to be a commissioner, and it's dealing with an item which helps keep our water clean and wonderful. So I'd like to have Mr. Olson discuss just a little bit about the project that's going on in the South County.
Well, good morning. For the record, Eric Olson, Director of Utilities. What's on the agenda today is to approve the ability for DEP to give us an additional 2 years extension time for the South County Brine project. A little bit of information about this. The county is currently working at a project that would link itself to Hydromentia, which is an algal scrubber project. The intent of this project is really multifold. It's not the easy route. It's just like Spoonville Marsh. We're taking a little bit of a tougher route, but the benefits are far-reaching. The benefits are that we have the ability to reduce nitrogen and phosphorus and nutrients going into the Indian River Lagoon. We also have the ability to create additional reuse water for customers. So what DEP is pleased about is that we're looking at this direction. We have the ability to implement the data. They've looked at our data. They've come out and visited the site. They've looked at the project. They've actually been excited to the extent of saying this should be a very easily permittable project because it's a tried and true process. It's not something that's brand new. So what they're asking us to do today is just go ahead and continue the study, submit a permit application in the next 3 months, and move forward with it. So this particular item today is just an affirmation that it allows us an additional 2 years of time to accomplish this project.
Eric, I got some questions for you because I keep on hearing different sort of rumors and things. For instance, on the type of projects like the Spoonville and Egret Marsh, which I think are just absolutely some of the best things the county's doing. I've heard yesterday that these projects, the Spoonville Marsh and Egret Marsh, are non-renewable projects, that they have non-renewable permits. Is that accurate?
In conversations as late as this morning with DEP, these are renewable projects. These permits are renewable. I can't imagine why you would consider these as non-renewable permits. They are exciting. Let me comment on something that DEP said regarding Indian River County. Their studies are beginning to show that there is enhanced seagrass is beginning to show along the Indian River County intercoastal. And the reasons they're putting into this study is that the projects that Indian River County is taking into account, such as the what I call the cow catcher, basically the project here on the main relief canal, taking out a lot of stuffed floatables that would normally go directly into the lagoon. The Egret Marsh project, taking out nutrients and this type of thing. The projects such as the Spoonville Marsh, the soon-to-be projects such as hydromentia, they're beginning to show impact that are positive relative to the lagoon. Even their own analysis is beginning to show increases in seagrass. So they're impressed. That's the direction we're going.
So that would lead me to suggest, or to believe that we would never have any need for our present utilities, water and sewer utilities, for something like a deep injection well.
There's no need on our part. We have additional wet weather disposal. We would utilize their particular brine, link it into the Spoonville Marsh. We have no immediate need for that.
So we've got no particular plans
No.
to take over the city's
No,
well injection?
there's-
Okay, just want to get these things cleared up. And related to that, one of the most important issues on the utilities deals with the city sewer and worker employees. And recently I heard that we have an intent to hire no city employees. Is that accurate?
That's not correct. They have excellent staff over there, and our intent would be to utilize their staff as much as would be practical in the process. That is clearly silly.
So basically, it's probably true to say that for any workers that we'd need for a regionalized system, we'd probably actually go to the city of Vero Beach first.
Absolutely. That makes total sense.
Okay, enough with the cross-examination. I think that everything we're doing is right. But I just wanted to leave off with the idea that, some people look at Egret Marsh and Spoonville Marsh as irresponsible projects. Others look at it like the iPad. I mean, the iPad was untested technology 2 years ago, and now it's all over our community. And I think what the iPad is for the computer industry, things like the Spoonville Marsh and Egret Marsh projects are for water quality and TMDL remediation. And again, because of projects like that, I'm particularly proud of working for Indian River County and being in this very small way part of it. And it just boggles me when I hear stuff coming out of dark back rooms saying untried technology, untested things. I mean, when you go to, last time the Indian River Lagoon Advisory Committee was here, and walk with people who know more about this than I'll ever know, and see how impressed they are by the Spoonville Marsh, it makes you feel great. I mean, simple things like planting oyster beds and floating mats. I mean, floating mats seems like the stuff of science fiction, but we're doing it in Indian River County today, and I think that's tremendous. So, again, I'll just take this opportunity to thank you and thank your whole department for the work you're doing for all the customers and citizens in Indian River County.
Mr.
Thanks.
Chairman, with your concurrence, I'll move staff recommendation.
Thank you very much. We have a motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second from Commissioner Flesher. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Next up, we've got C, which just was a little confusing for me. On item 9 on C, it says the Palm Beach Treasure Coast 211 Crisis Helpline has requested funding for Indian River County for 211 services. 211 is a great organization, but given some of the backup I got, I was confused as to whether this was a request for $5,000 for the present fiscal year or the next fiscal year. And we have Jason Brown, and he will enlighten me.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Jason Brown, County Budget Director. This is a $5,000 contribution from the county for the current fiscal year to 211. They spend about $350,000 providing 211 services throughout the Treasure Coast, Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, and Okeechobee counties. 211 it's kind of like 911 for health and human services. If someone's in need of social services, they call that 211 number. They get them lined up with that. What they have requested from us is a $5,000 contribution from the county. As a note of comparison, they received $17,500 from St. Lucie County and just a little under $10,000 from Martin County. So our contribution is proportionate. It's actually lower than our share of population as those normal contributions go. But it is a current year contribution.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, move approval.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Wheeler, second from Commissioner Flesher. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. On to item F, and I just wanted to pull this. This deals with a new policy on commemorative works at the county facilities, and I just wanted to pull it to get a little publicity for it because I think it's a good thing, and some of our county residents might want to take advantage of it.
Mr. Chairman, the only comment I had on it, and Mike, I know you've worked on this quite a bit, is under the definition, it just says a dedicated tree or bench. I'd like to see a little bit more wording on the bench side. We've talked about kind of like some of the ones that are downtown in front of the Heritage Center. They're kind of a nice cement, just regular looking bench. And I think maybe that's kind of what we want, is something standardized so that, there's thousands of designs of benches out there. I'm not sure we want to get carried away with all that. So the only thing I would like to see is just a little bit more, either an example of a bench like that or a little bit more description, just so we tie that down a little bit more.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. The reason we consciously avoided a specific definition is because later on in the resolution, it explains that the goal is to be consistent with the existing landscape design and amenities at the facility. So, for example, in processing our first one prematurely, or actually before the passage of this resolution, there was a request to put a bench, a commemorative bench at the courthouse. So our goal then was to find the same bench that was at the courthouse and the similar plaque and be consistent with that design. So as each request comes in, our goal is to synergize it with a pre-existing need at a county facility and matching it with the desires of the applicant. So typically we'll have a commemorative work that matches what's there. If there are none, perhaps we could have a standard bench that we can propose.
And Mr. Zito, if somebody wanted to have a dedicated tree or bench, how would they go about it? Who would they contact first?
They can simply go on our website or contact the Public Works Director or General Services Division and request an application and submit the required fees along with the application, meet with staff, actually visit the facility with staff and identify a location that's agreeable, and procure the commemorative work and install it.
I know that when my wife and I dedicated a tree at for the city of Vero Beach to my beloved father-in-law, that the cost was about $750. Do we have any range of costs for this?
That would be up to the applicant. Some applicants desire to do more elaborate things, and others want to simply keep the cost to a minimum but still honor their distinguished citizen. So, in other words, if it's an oak tree, it'll be the cost of an oak tree if we have oak trees at the facility. Okay,
but there is the cost of the oak tree, the planting, the monument. So if we could, just like to get some idea so we can at least tell them a range. Because when you dealt with the city, you knew roughly how much it was going to cost at the start. And I know that I'd be a little wary if I called you up and said, how much is a dedicated tree? And you said, it depends. So it'd be good if we understand that the value may change, but it'd be good if we just had a range we could at least begin the conversation.
We could identify a range, but again, our intent is to be active in participating with the applicant and getting what they want at a cost they can afford.
Yeah, absolutely, but just some idea. And with that, I'll accept the motion.
Move approval.
A motion from Commissioner Fleischer, a second from Commissioner Davis. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, we have public discussion items. A request to speak from Terry Schlitt regarding 8715 103rd Avenue, which is a building scheduled for demolition. Good morning, Mr. Schlitt.
Good morning. Do have a presentation just for clarification based on request by the board. So my name is Terry Schlitt, 6316 7th Street for the record. Thank you, Commissioner. This property is scheduled for demolition. I know last week we had a couple of agenda items that I needed to research, so this presentation is basically trying to answer all of your questions and be as open and honest as I can. Here's a picture of the facility. Hopefully the dump truck or the loader is no longer in the picture after this presentation.
About how long ago was that picture taken, the front one?
That was 2 weeks ago.
Thanks.
So this is the inside. Obviously, when you have damage, fire damage, and it's been exposed to the elements for almost 3 years, you're going to have almost a rainforest growing the inside. So there is a lot of work. I'm not questioning the amount of work, but I'm questioning for the need for a demolition. Here's another picture of the inside. Extensive fire damage, but as you can see, the exterior concrete block walls are uncracked and undamaged. So the major concerns are the structural integrity of the house. I'm going to go over the financial analysis just so you guys are comfortable that I have the ability to make this remodel work. The time frame, which is very important to the citizens, especially the neighbors around, the resources that we have at our disposal, along with the county's issue with the previous demolition contract and the benefits. Major players that I've already contacted for the inspector and general contractor, Michael Schlitt Construction. He's already been out there, inspected it, and produced a report by the engineer, Treasure Coast Drafting, that says this is buildable. The insurance agent is Schlitt Services. Both Michael Schlitt and Bob Schlitt Services are my uncles. Not that it's supposed to be a family run, but I do have a lot of resources at my disposal and a lot of players that I can trust.
Almost like the Davises here.
Close. And the money is Schlitt Brothers Properties, LLC. The structure, the inspector verified there are no cracks or deflections in the walls and foundation. You can see we pulled the drywall off the wall, and there are also on the inside of the house, there's no cracks or anything we need to be worried about. Analysis, according to the Florida Building Code, it's a level 3 alteration. Basically, we can fix everything that is wrong. Financial analysis, if we were to do a complete demolition with the current contract, the cost to rebuild will be around $120,000. As far as my investor is concerned, the return on investment is under 9%, which is good in this market. But as you know, there are better values in this neighborhood for under $120,000 as an investment, and we would probably be forced to sell the empty lot if it were demolished. So that would be another empty lot on the record books, and we're trying to avoid that if at all possible. If we were to repair it using the existing shell, the cost of repair would be roughly $80,000 given previous estimates on jobs like this. Return on investment would be over 13%, which provides a favorable condition for what basically my dad as the investor has said that's well within his range, and we would be able to start immediately. The faster the better. Time frame, start date, assuming we get the approval to not demo, throw in all of our permits, get everything started on June 13th. All of these dates are conservative. I'm trying to do something that I'm trying to provide a schedule that I can definitely hit 100%. Demolition complete July 11th. Finish the roof, doors, and windows, which would provide a safe structure and look good from the outside on August 1st, and the rest of the interior would be complete by October 1st of this year. Basically, going back over the resources, this company is my dad's company, so and we've already talked about how to make it happen, how to make it work, and he's given me the range of 10%. If I can get over 10% return, then I definitely have it. So if they demo it, the return drops below 10%, and we can no longer rebuild the structure. The previous demolition contract, which the board has already expressed concern over, staff has talked to the demo contractor, and he has agreed to abide to whatever the board's decision is. He's also expressed interest in a partial teardown working with us, which I would welcome the opportunity to work with that contractor. Although I have not spoken to him directly, I've been informed we don't want to cloud the waters with his contractor, making them go to work without an actual contract, and so I didn't contact him directly. Staff just communicated. Benefits to the county, if we were to rebuild, obviously the property taxes go up, so the county would be collecting $1,300 more every year. Provides affordable, safe, energy-efficient housing for another family. This is an alternative to another family seeking to rent a house that's older, maybe less manageable, less maintained, and rebuilding obviously increases the curb appeal for the neighborhood as opposed to having an empty lot sitting for a few months, a few years, however long it takes to sell. Summary, increased property tax revenue, influx of cash to local businesses to rebuild, more income taxes and to boost the economy. Although this is a small step for our economy, it is a step in the right direction, I believe, in rebuilding it, and we're not going backwards. Also, what I would like to consider is forgiveness of the fees, as the burnt and unmaintained hazardous structure in residential zone 3. Fines have been accruing since October 24th, so the fines are considerable, and I'm hoping that the board will recommend to reduce the fine to a minimal and reasonable amount. And are there any questions that I may have skipped over? Conclusion, let's take the bulldozer out of the picture and save the structure.
I've got one. How many people will be put to work during that 3 or 4 month time period?
We made a decision to hire a contractor basically for the structure, for the roof trusses, the shell, all the frame. Those will probably be around, each crew is 10 to 15, and for the couple months duration. They'll be working every day, sometimes on the weekends, and I'll be doing a lot of the work myself as far as the interior part of it.
So it might mean then 10 to 12 jobs for 3 or 4 months.
Right. And obviously those jobs will be switching. We'll be working with framers for a portion, drywall crew for some more. So 10 to 15 consistent jobs, although the names may be changing.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Davis.
If this doesn't hamper the ability for us to move forward with the other projects for demolition, it appears like to me that we've got a gentleman trying to do business here. Let's get out of their way. And I think that as long as the residents see, first of all, you're local and we know you. To me, that goes a long way. And as long as the residents see something happening there, I think that it's a step in the right direction. So I guess really we left off kind of suspending or postponing the award of the contract for demolition, and I need to know where we are, where we stand, and what's the flavor of the low bidder as far as if we were to pull this out.
Right.
Jerry Davis, purchasing manager for the county. I've discussed this demolition project with Jim Redmond. He's the owner of Redmark Construction that we awarded the contract for 3 demolitions. And he doesn't have a problem with us removing this one from the contract. We haven't actually issued the purchase orders yet. But he doesn't have a problem with us removing this one. He'll complete the other 2 at the price he bid, which was $1,000 for one and $1,500 for the other. And he said he would assist Mr. Schlitt if Mr. Schlitt needed help with the demo of what's there. That would be a private contract between the 2 of them. And if for some reason the project Mr. Schlitt's working on falls through, we could come back and contract with Mr. Redmond, re-award it to him at a later date without putting it out for bid if we wanted to.
At the price that we've agreed upon?
Excuse me?
At the price that we've agreed upon?
Yes. He said he would hold that price for approximately 90 days.
Perfect. Okay. Mr. Pluckett, you see any issues that we should be aware of or concerned about with this, other than if we decided to...
Well, let me ask a quick question. Mr. Schlitt, does your company or organization presently own the property, or are you contracting to buy it?
We presently own the property. We bought it as an auction from the county website approximately 3 weeks ago. Found out we owned it last Friday.
Okay. And apparently there is a lien on the property?
Yes.
Why didn't that should have gotten extinguished unless it's a utility lien through the foreclosure process, didn't it? That code enforcement, if it's not senior to the mortgage,
Well, let me come back. And I'm sorry, I was thinking my next question, you were finishing your answer to the prior question, but did you buy it in a foreclosure process?
Yes, it was foreclosed. It went through the county foreclosure process, and we received the final judgment, so we are now the owners.
Okay, yes, it should have been provided we were named as a party in the foreclosure. In all frankness, just hearing Mr. Schlitt talk about the code enforcement lien is the first time I've become aware of the lien. So it's probably straight, assuming we were named as a defendant. And if we had a recorded lien, we certainly should have been named as a defendant. Bill, do you know anything about this case?
Do you know the prior owners, Mr. Schlitt? Was it Schiapelli?
It was Peltier, I believe.
I believe we were named in that suit, and the lien should have been scrubbed.
Okay.
I worked on that file.
Okay.
Makes it easy.
Yeah. So then coming back to, assuming the lien's not a problem, as I understand it, the contractor has been great about, they'll cooperate with us in any way we want. So at this point, I think the path is clear if you so choose to go ahead and take this property off the demolition list, move with Mr. Schlitt.
So moved.
Second. A motion from Commissioner Davis, a second from Commissioner Wheeler. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Good luck with the project, and
get her done.
We hope you'll come back with it done and with a tax bill showing you're paying taxes on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have public notice items, and I'll let Mr. Flackwich read this.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a notice of a scheduled public hearing on June 14, 2011. It's a county-initiated request to amend the comprehensive plan's future land use element policy 1.16 to allow up to 25% recreation vehicle use in the mobile home rental park land use category for parks less than 20 acres in size. There is a memorandum dated May 17, 2011, and it is a legislative matter.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have community development, consideration of a request for a local jobs grant. It looks like Mr. Keating's going to lead us through this.
Yes. Good morning. I'm Bob Keating. I'm County Community Development Director. And this item does relate to a proposed jobs grant. And as you know, the county's jobs grant program provides financial incentives for companies to either locate in the county or existing companies in the county to expand. In this case, the subject company is already located in the county and it does propose to expand. Now, state law allows for economic development prospects to request confidentiality and for local governments to keep all the information confidential, and that's what the company has done in this case. So going forward, I am not going to name the company because of the confidentiality, but I can tell you it is a local company and it's a telecommunications company. This company has 180 employees nationally, and they've got 45 employees locally, and they propose to expand locally to add another 12 employees. Now, given the proposed wages of the employees they're going to add, the company qualifies for a jobs grant in the amount of $68,000. And the jobs grant, the actual jobs will be provided in 2 phases, and the grant will be provided over a 3-year period for each phase. We do have a sample agreement in your backup that identifies the phases and the time frames and the amounts that would be provided at each time. And as you know, one of the benefits of the jobs grant program is that the grant amounts are provided after the jobs are created, so we're not providing the money up front and hoping the company comes through. We're actually only providing the money after the jobs have been in place for a year. In this case, we did quite a bit of due diligence on the company. We had both the county attorney's office and community development staff do due diligence, look into the background of the company and its officers, and everything looks good. The Economic Development Council considered this proposed jobs grant request last week, and they recommend that you approve the jobs grant. And for that reason, both the Economic Development Council and staff recommend that the board approve the local jobs grant in the amount of up to $68,000 for the company, and authorize the chairman to sign the jobs grant agreement with the company after we finalize the jobs grant agreement and after county staff and the attorney's staff has approved the agreement as written. We do have a representative from the company here. Martha White is here, and she may want to make a few remarks.
Okay, I'll ask if anybody does want to speak on this. Your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Martha White, and I'm at 346 Fiddlewood Road, 32963. And I represent the company that has, the local company that has applied for the jobs grant. And I just wanted to say that we are very excited to be bringing these employment opportunities to Indian River County. And on behalf of the company, we appreciate any financial assistance we may receive.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this? Mr. Johnson.
Bob Johnson, Corwin Subdivision. Last time jobs grant came up, the definition of community or local grant was questioned, and I know Bob made a lot of inference that this was an in-county business, but does that include just being able to restrict it to Indian River County hires, or is that out of county beside?
Actually, the 12 jobs that are going to be created will have to be employees that actually reside in the county or in adjacent counties.
Or the adjacent counties?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, from my point of view, the important part of this is not that they live or where they live, because again, that's to me, the government going someplace we probably need not go. The important fact is that they work in Indian River County, and they are helping our economy in that way. I'll also note, since I've got my mouth open, that just last week we had a chamber event where an economist, Bill Fruth, spoke, and he said that given the present economic environment, we ought to be focusing in on existing companies. So I think it's remarkable that less than a week later you have an existing company that's looking for a job grant. So I think that's a wonderful thing. And we have Helene Castletine from the Chamber of Commerce who also wants to add something. Helene, your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Helene Castletine, Economic Development Director with the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, 1216 21st Street. Commissioner Solari, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to remark, that we did have Mr. Fruth in town, and he did tell us that we should be focusing on business retention, business expansion. This is a perfect example of that. These jobs, as Mr. Keating mentioned, are good-paying jobs with benefits. And certainly we encourage all companies to hire locally, and they really prefer to hire locally, to be quite honest. So thank you so much for your
consideration. It's probably a good time to tell existing companies that if you are thinking about expanding, come to the county and take advantage of this program. We want
Absolutely.
you to. I mean, anything that anybody can do to help improve this economic environment, I think is a wonderful thing, and you've got a commission, I think, that is ready to embrace you on it. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner O'Brien.
Just on the discussion, I'd like to commend our staff and also Helene for the due diligence they did on this application. The last job grant we had, I think we were all probably a little guilty of being so excited about potential jobs and rushing things through that we might have gotten a little overzealous and had a little hiccup. But I think also we looked at that as a learning experience and how can we do a better job. And I think that the background we've done on this one, we did a much better job of our due diligence. At the same time, I don't think there was anything that might offend the company. I think it was done very professionally and in a business-like manner, so that both parties understood exactly where we are in this. I want to commend staff and Helene and the applicant for all working together to make sure the county is moving forward to create jobs, but also that we have done our due diligence to make sure that the taxpayer dollars are well protected. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve staff recommendation to award the job grant in the amount of $68,000.
Second. Motion to approve from Commissioner O'Brien, second from Commissioner Flesher. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next up, we've got Solid Waste Disposal District, the new Oslo Customer Convenience Center project update from Himanshu. Good morning again, Himanshu.
Good morning, Commissioners. Himanshu Mehta, Solid Waste Disposal District. I'm here with staff from CDM, Eric Rocky and Kevin Van, and we wanted to give you a project update on the Oslo Convenience Centers. We came to you earlier this month on May 3rd with a recommendation to reject all bids on the project, and at the same time we wanted to the board approved an alternative conceptual design feasibility study, and where CDM has started that process, and we're at a juncture where we wanted to take an opportunity to update you. One of the time critical issues on that is the board asked us at the meeting is to go back to Barth Construction, request a time extension, because the current bids expire on June 2nd, 2011. So our purchasing manager did send a request to Barth Construction for a time extension. We received a letter that's I'll read that to you just for the record. It says, we've been in touch with a number of large subcontractors with regards to extending their prices for an additional 30 days. Most have been receptive to the request, but due to the volatility in certain commodity markets, not all are able to provide guarantee beyond the current 90-day evaluation period. The best we can offer Indian River County at this time is a pledge that we will do everything we can honor our bid price until July 2nd, 2011. So we wanted to bring that to you because, again, currently the bids expire on June 2nd, 2011. We did ask for an extension till July 2nd. They didn't sign the letter from our purchasing department to guarantee that price to July 2nd. We did ask Barth Construction to be here. I'm not sure if Jason Fikes is here yet. But so because of that reason, we wanted to give you an update. CDM has taken an effort. We met with Barth Construction. We looked at some value engineering options. They began their process of looking at the conceptual design. What we were looking to do is mirror something that we had presented to you briefly, the Marion County facility, where they're using compactors. And so at this time, what I'd like to do is turn it over to CDM. They can tell you in terms of what they've done so far in their meeting with Bar Construction, also at looking at this new conceptual design and where they are in terms of that. And then we'll address any questions you have.
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, Kevin Van, CDM. We have prepared some slides for you to give you a little bit of a visual update on where we are on the project now, including the original design and the new conceptual layout based on a facility we visited in Marion County. This is a 1974 aerial of the existing Oslo Customer Convenience Center. I just want to give you a little bit of a visual representation on the existing site conditions that we're facing. The red rectangle is the location of the current facility, and the blue rectangle represents the approximate location of the new proposed site of the new Oslo Convenience Center. What this aerial shows is there's some landfilling activities within that blue rectangle. So that indicates to us there's some old landfilling, or it was basically a dump back at that time. It wasn't your standard landfill as you would see now. This is an old on-land site, and they used trench type landfilling where we would dig a trench, place the waste, and then cover it back up. Going into this, based on the aerial, we knew there were some landfilling activities in our site. And to get a visual indication, we did some ground penetrating radar on it. We went out there, ran the radar across the site, and this is a visual representation of those results. What you'll notice is the green areas indicate more of natural existing soils, and the red and blue indicate the location of the trenches and of the buried solid waste. And it ranges anywhere from 5 to 10 feet below existing land surface. So this clearly shows you the trenches that we saw based on the 1974 aerial. This is an aerial photograph of the existing site as it exists today. You'll see the City of Vero Beach Power Substation, upper right-hand corner, the existing Oslo Convenience Center in the middle, then the open vacant land on the left-hand side is the area that we are proposing to build the new station. And this will allow us to keep the existing station operational during the construction period of the new station. The new design for Oslo was based on the Fellsmere model, where you have an elevated structure up top. The customers drive up top and are able to place their garbage into open top walking floor trailers, which are basically parked against the elevated structure. The access ramp is on the left-hand side of this picture. Customers drive up, pull next to the retaining wall, and then simply unload their trash into the trailers that are parked on the lower elevation. This is the current plan for the Oslo design using this elevated structure. You access the new facility from the north, coming up the ramp to the elevated structure, which is approximately 12 feet above surrounding grade. We have an office building and household hazardous waste collection in the center, and areas for walking floor trailers for your garbage and mixed recyclables, and some areas for some open top roll-offs for collection of recycled metals and tires, and we also have a trailer for cardboard and paper. This is an elevation plan showing you the base grade generally is elevation 24 feet, the top elevation being 36 feet, roughly 12 feet above existing grade. And you can imagine the difficulty on burying or building on top of old garbage, and the design had to allow for potential differential sediment up to 6 to 8 inches, which required substantial structural elements and a driven pile system. Back on May 3rd, we had direction to proceed with a new conceptual layout based on a site visit that we had some time ago up in Marion County. which uses more of a flat on-grade system with compactors for their municipal garbage and roll-offs for their recyclables. And this is just an aerial photograph to give you a visual representation of the layout of the facility. The compactors are on the right-hand side, with the office in the middle and the recyclables to the north of the facility. And this is a sketch of what that same type of layout would look like on the Oslo site. Still access the site from the north. On the left-hand side of this sketch, we have an area for roll-offs for yard waste. Then you would come around and you can unload your household hazardous waste at the rear of the office building, and an area for roll-offs for your recyclable materials, cardboard, paper, plastics, tires, and metals. Then you would come around to the right-hand side, which is the east side, and we have laid out 4 compactors for residential garbage. Some quick facts on Marion County. They have 20 stations similar to this. 18 of them are on compactors, and they have been using the compactor model for over 20 years now. This is a picture of a standard compactor. They're roughly 8.5 feet tall, roughly 20 to 25 feet long. This is one that was located at an outlet mall that utilized a compactor for some of their waste. And this is a slide that gives you a visual comparison of the current bids we have for the current design as compared to some of the new conceptual design budget numbers. And I'll let Eric touch on that a little more.
Eric Rodkey, CDM. I get the fun slides, the last 2 here. You can see the current low bid. This is the Barth bid. We've kind of broken this out to kind of focus in on some of the cost expenses. As you can see, the structural area is really what's driving the cost up for this project. We did meet with Barth. We talked about some ways of reducing the cost a bit through discussions with them. There may be some possibilities to reduce that through different wall sections, different piling mechanisms, and what have you. Those are expected to be in the nature of $100,000 to $300,000 range. Again, that's going to be site-specific because we are talking about putting piles through existing waste that's been landfilled for many, many years. As you can see, there was a contingency as part of the bid. It was about $250,000. So with the new conceptual, we wanted to make sure we were comparing apples with apples here. Essentially, this is a flat-on-grade type system. The additional costs that are in there that weren't in the previous bid would be the price for the compactors, which is listed at $200,000. With the system that is currently bid, obviously there's not mechanical type needs for that facility. There was not an emergency generator. We wanted to make sure that this was apples to apples as far as operations would go. If we do lose power when we have compactors, we wouldn't be able to run that facility. So we've included an emergency generator just to true up these costs a little bit. And again, there's contingency here based on the same level of percentage for the previous contract that was already bid. In actuality, that contingency amount would probably get reduced as the design would move forward into a further final design phase. Next slide. This slide is kind of a summary of the costs as well as the schedule. The current design, as evaluated, there's both engineering and construction costs as well as an operations side. Our current authorization is around $352,000. Approximately $85,000 of that is tied up in the construction services, the inspection time. And that's a direct function of the time of construction. With the pile system, obviously we have 160 piles that have to be driven into that. A lot of time into that equation. That was estimated to be about 12 months, as you can see in the lower portion here. With this newer flat on grade type approach, the time for construction actually shrinks to about 6 months. So there would be savings in our fees in the construction aspect. However, with doing this layout, redesign type approach. There are some permits that have to be modified, and obviously the engineering of the grades, the compactors themselves, making sure that we have all that taken care of. The delta that we're seeing total, we're guesstimating right now at 100,000. There's still several items that we have to research. However, we wanted to get this to you, to the board, before these bids actually expire. The operation side, we have spoke with Republic a little bit about that. With the compactor alternative, there's several pros. It's a little cleaner type operation. You don't have garbage sitting in trucks, open air. Some of the odors go away. They're now contained into a compactor. Some of the other items, when you're compacting that waste, you're getting more in a smaller area. Therefore, the trips of hauling that waste to the landfill won't be as many. There is some of the con. The major con is the additional electrical. So the additional electrical, coupled with the less trips, in discussions with Republic, they felt that there would be no net increase. So we have looked at that. We've talked to them a little bit about that. However, there will be a maintenance aspect to the compactors themselves. We haven't been able to close that loop yet with the various manufacturers. One item that was brought up at the last meeting was the differential in the height of the curb for the over-the-wall type thing, throwing your garbage in the current design, and the difference with the compactor. We're looking at different manufacturers have different heights on their compactors. We feel it's probably in the neighborhood of 6 inches additional height to get it into the compactor. It could be a little bit more depending on the piece of equipment that you do get. So we just wanted to bring that up as a side note based on the discussion from the last meeting. Looking at the construction for the new conceptual design, if we were to go that direction, we estimate about 6 months for the design, redesign, the permitting, and going through the bidding phase again. However, the construction period would be about 6 months, so the end product actually being open and operational would still be June of 2012, whichever way that you decided to go. With that, Himanshu, we'll open up for questions.
Gentlemen, any questions for CDM or staff?
Yeah, Eric, with the compactor, it looks like the actual loading site is relatively, like you said, 6 inches close to the vehicle height. But what about on the yard waste? Are they going to have to hump that up into a roll-off container above their heads?
We're looking at different mechanisms that we could possibly do an elevated type system with the roadway coming in for one lane to elevate it a little bit to basically take that into account.
Okay, because usually emptying the yard waste is the slowest procedure at the convenience centers. Most people, their household waste is in a couple bags, a couple garbage cans, they're over and then they're out of there. The yard waste takes time, and that's going, from grade down. If they have to hump it up, it's going to come to a screeching halt. So.
Right. That's one of the reasons why we put it in that site plan where it is, so we could actually isolate that, give it a little bit of elevation just for that purpose.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any particular action you needed, Hamashi?
Commissioners, we didn't put a recommendation at this time. However, because of the time-sensitive nature, we wanted to bring this to your attention. We do have this pledge from Barth that they would honor and hold their bid till July 2nd. CDM, again, in trying to get back and be responsive, we wanted to bring you this update as to where we are. They haven't quite, I don't have a final report from CDM as authorized on May 3rd. If we
that was a no.
It was a no. Purchasing is here. Jerry Davis is here in terms of the bidding process. We wanted to bring you this update because I didn't want to put the commission in a position where the bids expire June 2nd, the $3.5 million bid that we have right now, with the possibility of us going out to rebid that. If there are some engineering savings or whatnot on reducing that bid, again, we'd have to rebid that whole process. So before the bids expire, I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of, again, take a look at this project. We wanted to bring you as best we can some information about this new conceptual layout. There are some cost savings that we see in the project. You could direct us to proceed and come back to you with a full report sometime in June, and go on the pledge from Barth Construction to July 2nd. That's one option. If you like what we're doing in terms of this conceptual layout, you can stop CDM, if you will, on that whole analysis, and direct staff to work with CDM to come back with a proposal for this new whole conceptual design of going that route. Again, we're kind of wanted to just give you an update of where the facts are as to this project, and at this time, I don't have the full report. I didn't have the confidence that we had from Barth in terms of holding that date till July 2nd. So we felt before the bids expired, we wanted to give you an update.
Commissioner Fletcher first.
Mr. Chairman, and thank you, and I wanted to thank Eric and his team for looking at these modifications and ensuring that they comply with our needs. But I do have a concern. I don't know if the scope of services and the contract that has been set forth before the bidding process has it significantly changed, therefore compelling us to have to rebid this project. And
that's actually a question we're actually looking at right now. Okay. If you go to the different conceptual with the compactors, et cetera, that clearly you would just have to start over and rebid. The question is back on what was bid originally. They're talking about some design changes to try to reduce the cost. We're actually working with Himanshu and indirectly through the engineer to make sure that whatever changes we come up with, they don't cross that line into becoming substantial changes which require a rebidding of the process. So I can tell you that issue's in the air as we speak, but unresolved at the moment.
Okay.
Commissioner Wheeler?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we scrap the old and go with the new. 20 years of good history in Marion County, plus a potential of, approaching $1.5 million savings. It's a cleaner operation, simpler to build. I don't know what the advantages are. She said there were several advantages. You've talked apparently with Todd. I like the concept. I like the cleanliness. I like the history of Marion County. And I think we should move forward in that direction and start looking to the future instead of doing the same old thing over and over.
And I'll second that.
Motion from Commissioner Wheeler, a second from Commissioner Fletcher. Discussion, Commissioner Fletcher.
With the understanding that Council is going to review the impact on the performance on the bid and come back to us.
Well, but if you go with the new concept, you're going to have to start over with. No, you're going to have to start over with a new bid process.
We have to start.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Perhaps the commission would inquire, since Todd's in the room, whether the new conceptual design would impact the current agreement with the county as he sees it.
But that was my concern.
And Mr. Westover is coming to the podium. Name and address for the record, please.
Gonna finally get me. Todd Westover, 104 Cache K, Vero Beach, Florida. I just want to echo what Eric said. The fish are coming back. The grass is coming back. It's true. I just went to my honey hole that's been depleting over the last 10 years, and I caught so many fish I couldn't believe it.
So what you're saying is...
It's working. Yeah, right.
For the utility.
Untested or untried technology of radical, it's dangerous is actually cleaning the Indian River Lagoon.
It's actually happening.
Todd, what was that GPS number again?
We'll be able to expand that with the client. Blindfold. No. Anyway, yes.
Thank you for that positive comment on our great utility projects, Todd. We appreciate that.
Go, Eric. You're welcome. Yes, they've come to me. Everything they've said is true. With one slight caveat. It's true that although the compaction makes less trips for those, having tractor trailers makes less trips because there's 3 times in that, and there's 3 to 1 compaction in the compactor. So, and yes, the electricity's on these 3-phase power goes up, and yes, I did say that we would, the net result on the electricity, if, they get everything that they just showed you and purchase everything, the compactors, and maintenance should not be a very big dollar amount. They will, all companies, we have compactors at Sam's, Walmart's, Publix's, Target's, Lowe's, Home Depot. And so you can get maintenance contracts for, very cheap monthly rates. I mean, and you go years sometimes without anything going wrong with these compactors. So, and I'm actually the one that brought in the compactor consultant at first, and I'm sure they're going to bid out all of it, but any questions?
I think we're fine. Thank you very much, Todd. Appreciate you coming here and sitting through the meeting to be here for these questions.
You got it.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion from Commissioner Wheeler to basically scrap the old and go with the new. A second from Commissioner Fleischer. If there are no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, we have the Environmental Control Board, approval of the minutes of the March 1st, 2011 meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner O'Brien, seconded by Commissioner Wheeler. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. And we now have the quarterly report for the second quarter fiscal year 2010.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Fleischer, seconded by Commissioner O'Brien. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And gentlemen, with that, we adjourn. Thank you very much. I don't know what they found so hard about this, but